It's been a long time coming, but this is the very first electric mountain bike from Nukeproof. This is the brand new Megawatt. Powered by the Shimano EP8 motor, paired with a 630 watt internal battery with an aluminium frame, the bike shares the same geometry as the race-proven Nukeproof Mega. So it's slack, long and enduro focused geometry with short chainstays and a steep seat angle. With 170mm travel front and rear, a mixed wheel size, Fox 38 up front with 4-bar link driven rear, and it's designed to be supple off the top and progressive through the rest of the travel. I have been waiting, like a lot of us, for a bike from Nukeproof, an e-bike from Nukeproof, because they make some killer bikes. Look at the Mega and the Giga and Enduro World Series winning bikes. So this has been a long time coming. 3 different models. They start at £5,000, £6,000, then £7,000 for the top model. I set the bike up with 30% sag in the shock and hit my local trails. I'm riding a variety of terrain from trail centres to natural, steep and loose chutes. And I've ridden the bike in bone dry conditions to soaking wet, and it really didn't take long at all to feel comfortable and confident with the bike's abilities. The 64-degree head angle paired with the long travel and low bottom bracket for a 170 travel e-bike meant that the bike felt incredibly stable. And because the bike is so good at going down, I found myself finding the steepest stuff I could, then shuttling back to the top to session it. And I found the only limits were my skill levels as a rider and not the bike. Whether it's the steepest chutes, chunk, drops or berms, the bike just munches it up. And the bike, with its mixed wheel size, feels great at tucking into quick, tight corners, and the 442mm short chainstay also helps keep the rear feeling nimble and playful. So let's have a quick look around the bike. 29 at the front, 27.5 at the rear. So it's a mullet configuration like loads of e-bikes. What that really allows is that good rollover of a 29er at the front, and having a 27.5 at the rear allows manufacturers to get that chainstay a little bit shorter than you'd traditionally find on a 29. But also you get the benefit of having a quicker turn-in rear end. There's less inertia on that rear wheel. Nukeproof finishing kit, Nukeproof bars, Sam Hill bars, grips, and on this side we've got the Shimano controller, so it allows you to navigate through the different settings. 170 fork, 170 rear travel, and it's aluminium and there's no carbon models, but who knows, maybe if there's enough demand they'll make a carbon model. Fox factory X2. By the way, this is the top model, but the model down comes with very good specification, very good suspension, just not the factory stuff. And I think bang for buck wise, that one down model is really good. Rear chainstay, got the little kind of horse link type pivot there. It's not the lightest, it's around 24.3 kilos in XL. This is not the biggest size, so it's not a super light e-bike, but when you ride it, it feels way more agile than the weight suggests. And the EP8 has some real benefits. It's very small, really kind of svelte looking down here. Some e-bikes are really bulbous, but this is nice and compact, it's nice and lightweight. The power delivery, 85 Newton meters, fairly natural. Does have the clatter that all Shimano bikes have. If you've watched some of my videos on motors before, you'll know all about this. If not, I do a motor comparison test with all the latest motors. I enjoyed putting the bike in boost mode and climbing. Sure, this isn't the best way to make sure you have all-day battery range, but it's pretty fun for an hour or so blast on your local trails. The steep 80-degree seat tube angle is particularly welcome, and as a taller rider, it really helps keep the rider weight forward on the steep climbs. The bike really is an excellent climber. I think a beefier rear tyre would really help bite into the dirt a little more, obviously at the cost of increased rolling resistance on the more pedally trail sections, but this is a really quick and easy change depending on your trail conditions. And the bike is really comfortable to just sit and pedal and churn out the miles if you chose to. But when you start hitting the trails again, the bike suspension is so supple and sensitive, it feels like you could take on anything. Some long travel bikes can flatten out some trails and make them feel a little bit more boring, but to me this bike felt agile and lively. The suspension tune in particular felt absolutely perfect, making every ride feel engaging and fun. So, how is the bike? Well, I've got to say I've done probably 100-120k on the bike so far over the past few weeks, and damn, this is such a sweet bike. Nukeproof have knocked it out of the park with their first electric mountain bike. Now what I've really found with the bike is the suspension platform is just outstanding. The progressiveness of the rear, but suppleness. I think it is possibly, I'm gonna go out and say it, the sweetest handling e-bike downhill, full powered e-bike downhill. The suspension is amazing. Like, the rear is just outstanding. Off the top, it is so supple and really sensitive. And they recommend you run it at like 30 to 35% sag, which is quite a lot, but because it's so progressive, that is absolutely fine. So I never once bottomed out the rear. The suppleness is incredible. And I know, like, I'm sounding, I don't know, really over the top, but it is such a sweet handling bike. And the Fox 38 on the front, I don't know if they've put a specific tune on this fork, because I found the Fox 38s sometimes a little bit harsh. This is not harsh at all. In fact, I've got a Fox 38 over there in the corner from another bike, and I couldn't get it, like, no matter what I did, dialed in to feel nice and supple off the top, but give a lot of progression and bottom out resistance, even though I changed tokens. But this Fox 38 on this bike is just sweet out the box, and obviously set up and dialed in. But the bike is like so good at going down. It's gravity hungry, so as soon as you start pointing it down, it just comes alive. That being said, I've ridden this just on regular boring trails, and actually what I found, because the bike's got the motor, you can go searching for just stupid uphill things to climb. And I'm starting to think there is not really many downsides, if any, to long travel electric mountain bikes, because, you know, on a regular bike, a regular pedal powered bike, the longer and the slacker they are, the more or less efficient they are to pedal, and uphills just become a bit of a chore. But because you've got the motor on this, uphills become fun. The bike out of the box is fantastic. Nukeproof have done an incredible job on their first e-bike. Like, there's been loads that has gone into the bike in terms of the design and the development, and they actually had something like this ready almost a year ago, but because of everything that's happened in the world, everything's been delayed, and this bike is no exclusion to that. All right, there's a couple of things that I've noticed during my testing with it. The Shimano motor, the EP8, it is not quite as punchy in my experience as the Bosch or the Bros. There's not a lot in it, but you just don't get that same kind of stomp on the pedals and propel you forward, and the overrun that the Bosch and the Bros give you. Not everyone likes it. Personally, I really like that. You don't quite get that, punchiness with this motor, but actually you can spin at quite a low cadence, and it seems to give you loads of power. It's just missing that kind of, that real punchiness that you get off a couple of the other motors. No biggie, just I notice it because I test quite a lot of e-bikes. And the charger that comes with it is pretty weedy. It's only 1.8 amps, and to fully charge the bike took like ages, maybe 7 or 8 hours. To give you a comparison, a lot of e-bikes now come with a 4 amp or a 6 amp charger. Not an issue for a lot of people if you charge it overnight or after a ride, but if you are gonna go to a bike park and charge it over lunch or something for an hour, yeah, it takes ages, like the longest charging bike I've ever had. But you can buy the beefier chargers from Shimano. So it's an optional accessory. Out the box, it comes with a slow charger. Now you do get the clatter still from that Shimano motor. You do get used to it, honestly. If you are used to a totally silent bike, you'll notice it maybe when you first start riding it, but then you kind of zone out to it. It becomes a non-issue, but it is still there. And I think that's always going to be inherent to this Shimano motor. There's slight differences depending on the bikes that I've ridden, but that noise is still there. And the weight is a little bit on the heavy side. It's 24.2 kilos on my scales in extra large. So, you know, that does disappear once you ride in it. And in some instances, actually, when you're going down, that weight can help you. It can make the bike just feel so stable over some of the rougher terrain. But yeah, it's not the lightest e-bike, it's not the heaviest, but it is over 24 kilos, and any more than that and they start to feel a little bit lardy. But for Nukeproof to come in with a $5 bike, $6 and $7 for the top model, if you look at what else is out there, really, there's not a lot in the 170 kind of territory. And if you're looking at maybe some of the carbon bikes, the Santa Cruz, you're pushing like £10,000 plus. For their carbon model 170 Bullet. I think the sweet spot is that $6 one because you still get the brilliant Fox suspension. It's not factory, but the damping and internals is almost identical. I think you just lose the Kashima coating, which looks good, but in terms of performance, I don't think I would notice the difference just on that Kashima coating. So that $6 model, I think, is the sweet spot. And to get such a capable handling e-bike and such a brilliant overall package for $6, I think these e-bikes will sell out super quick. But well done Nukeproof, an absolutely cracking first e-bike, and yeah, this has been so much fun to ride.